Hello, America. This is Call of Duty Goddess. Today is June the 24th, 2016. I'm at Reuters here at an article titled Latest Gun Control Bid Falters in Congress. Democrat sit-in ends. And that's from today, June the 24th. Well, it looks like our communist friends have stopped their little sit-in, but there's still a remaining question. If I were a Republican in Congress, and these people were doing this, staying all night in that place, and it seems to be illegal, especially when you look at what happened in Oregon. I would call the police and have them arrested and taken out of there. Because if I didn't call the police, I mean, to me, that would be saying, oh, what you're doing is okay. It's okay. That's accepting what they're doing is legal. And hey, it may very well be legal, but I'm thinking no, because that's our taxpayers' dollars in that building. Anyway, so let's get into this article. Another attempt at gun control faltered in the U.S. Congress on Thursday despite outrage at the Orlando massacre, as a proposed ban on firearm sales to people being monitored for links to terrorism barely avoided being killed in the Senate. Now that's a pretty frightening aspect, ladies and gentlemen. Seeing that, I've done multiple videos where the FBI is targeting Patriot groups and not jihadis. And in this video, I'll leave the link below, I explained the outreach partners that the FBI used. I didn't go into this detail, but I will, just quickly. The FBI has a partnership and outreach program. And to do its job, the FBI explains from its very own website, the FBI works with both government and private sector partners every day and at every level. And that would be local, state, federal, tribal, and international. In some cases, these partnerships directly support our investigations and operations. In other cases, they enable mutually beneficial information sharing that help us to better understand emerging threats and foster crime prevention initiatives. So it looks like, by their own words, the FBI relies heavily on their partners and outreach program for direct support in their investigations and operations. And they use the information of their outreach partners to designate whether someone is a terrorist or not. So, let's see who's on their outreach list. Now I'm at the FBI website listing their outreach partners. We have the African American Outreach, NAACP, National Urban Fellows, Steve Harvey, Southern Poverty Law Center. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, what I did this video on. Southern Poverty Law Center, which is the biggest hate group I've ever seen in my life. So we've got African American. We then have Arab Muslim Outreach. Okay? We have Asian Outreach, Jewish Outreach, Latino Outreach, and Native American Outreach. Do you see any kind of constitutional outreach or patriotic outreach, or any kind of outreach that would espouse to maybe, I don't know, Tea Party people, or maybe, NRA groups or constitutional groups or anything of the like, or even Christian groups? I don't. There is none. So there is a whole large, very large group of people being left out of this outreach program. And I have a problem with that. I believe it's prejudicial. Very, very prejudicial that they are leaving my beliefs out of this system. And it could very easily lead the FBI to target me because I am not part of their outreach program, nor are my beliefs. Enough of my hoo-ha. Let's get back to the article, shall we? In a procedural vote, the Senate narrowly rejected an attempt to scrap the plan by Republican Senator Susan Collins to prevent guns getting into the hands of people on 2 U.S. government terrorism watch lists. See, and that's very important. In a procedural vote, the Senate narrowly rejected an attempt to scrap the plan by Republican Senator Susan Collins to prevent guns getting into the hands of people on 2 U.S. government terrorism watch lists. And speaking of terrorist lists, I know that you guys remember this because I do very well. New Homeland Security report, Christian Patriots, a terrorist threat. Now, we've heard about that for years. Patriots being put on the terror watch list. Sovereign citizens on the terrorist watch list. Homeland Security's National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism in January released a report entitled Spots of Terrorism and Other Crimes in the United States. According to the report's introduction, the goal of this program is to sponsor research that will aid the intelligence and law enforcement communities in identifying potential terrorist threats and support policymakers in developing prevention efforts. The report, paid by us taxpayers, that's the we the people, ostensibly studied terrorist attacks in the United States from 1970 through 2008. If you are patriotic to America, Christian, pro-life, believe in national sovereignty, are reverent of individual liberty, you are a terrorist threat. How many times have we heard this, ladies and gentlemen? This is your first time hearing it? I suggest you Google it because you'll find many articles. The report claims that there have been 98,000 terrorist attacks worldwide since 1970 committed by more than 2,000 terrorist organizations around the world. It defines terrorism as the threatened or actual use of illegal force by non-state actors in order to obtain a political, economic, religious, or social goal through fear, coercion, or intimidation. There is only one reference to Islam in the entire 37-page report. So, I don't think I need to read anymore. I'll leave you the link below. And in this article here, here's the link to the Hotspots of Terrorism, the PDF that Homeland Security used. And that's from 2012. Anyway, we are terrorists. If you are patriotic to America, Christian, pro-life, believe in national sovereignty, are reverent of individual liberty, you are a terrorist threat. We all witnessed that from Oregon and what happened there. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many videos I've done to show you that the Muslim Brotherhood has taken over every alphabet agency. We are on the terrorist watch list. You've heard Michelle Bachmann, Louis Gohmert, and the guy who wrote the book, Philip Haney, part of the DHS. Many more people have written books, come out, talked about it. How many military leaders have been fired? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to add all this up and see the people in the highest echelon of our country are not on our side. So, let's get back to the article here and find out if they're going to try to sneak this gun control in. But the proposal looks short of the support it would need to advance through the chamber, and Republican leaders said the Senate would switch from debating gun control to other matters until at least after the July 4th holiday, and until at least after all the eyes are off of this. Then the Republicans and Democrats alike can schmooze in together like they normally do and stop pretending like they're against each other, because the vast majority of Congress, they're all on the same side. But let's wait till after July 4th and see what happens. Meanwhile, is this more fodder? I have an article here from GOP USA, dated June 24, 2016, titled GOP Lawmaker Proposes Holding Gun-Free Zone Businesses Liable for Gun Violence. Now, is this a game? I don't know, but it looks pretty interesting to me. Attention! This is a personal defense-free zone. All law-abiding citizens at this establishment have been disarmed for your convenience. A Republican state lawmaker plans to introduce legislation that would discourage private businesses from banning firearms on their property. The proposal from Representative Bob Gannon is the first measure put forth by state Republicans in the wake of a shooting at an Orlando, Florida gay nightclub that killed 49 and wounded more than 50, the worst gun massacre in modern American history. Wisconsin's 2011 concealed carry law creates immunity from civil liability for gun-related deaths for businesses that allow guns on their property. Gannon's proposal, dubbed the Disarmed Citizens Compensation Act, would go a step further in discouraging gun-free zones by allowing a victim of gun violence to sue businesses with such bans and recover triple the amount of damages without regard to who was at fault. There are violent thugs in our midst, some homegrown, some international, who are determined to cause us harm. And our president and the UN is bringing them in left and right, aren't they? This bill will give the citizens of Wisconsin a better chance at defending themselves and their loved ones against this scourge of terrorist activity. Gannon said in an interview he announced the bill now as opposed to in the legislative session that begins in January in response to a national debate about gun control sparked by the Orlando shooting. If you're going to allow somebody to come in and put a bullet in my brain, you should have some liability, Gannon said. Wow. So it looks like in Wisconsin here, at least somebody is using their noodle. But again, this isn't in Congress. He's a state lawmaker in Wisconsin. Maybe he should go to Congress. Wonder if he'll change from there. So let's get this straight here. The communist gun ban sit-in in Congress finally ended. And if I were a Republican there, I would have called the police if it was against the law and had them arrested. And then according to the FBI's website, their partnership and outreach program helps them to better understand emerging threats and foster crime prevention initiatives. And they get help on their investigations and operations from these people in this outreach program. Who are the people in the outreach program? African American, Arab, Asian, Jewish, Latino, and Native American. No Christian, sovereign, or constitutional people allowed in their outreach program. Who is the #1 threat to Homeland Security? Christian patriots. And by their own definition, it boggles the mind because they're supposed to be, it says in here, by their own definition, terrorism as the threatened or actual use of illegal force by non-state actors. Hello? A non-state actor is a person that's acting not upon the laws of that particular state, which would be the United States of America, but sovereign citizens and Christians, aren't most of them state actors acting according to the Constitution? Correct me if I'm wrong there. So we have terrorists, the definition of them, who they are according to our government. And then you have a Wisconsin lawmaker that wants to propose holding gun-free zone businesses liable for gun violence. Something for you to think about there. This is Call of Duty Goddess signing off, and as always, I've got your 6.